Hello, and welcome to this example on determining volume to break even, fixed costs, and total revenue given the number of items sold and produced. We have the following problem. Samantha, the owner of a large stationery store in a mall, sells briefcases for $55 each. Her total revenue from these briefcases at the break-even point is $41,855 per month, and the contribution margin per briefcase is $10. We have three parts. First, calculate the break-even volume, and we want to round up to the next whole number. Second, we want to calculate the fixed costs and round the answer to the nearest cent. And third, we want to calculate the total revenue if Samantha sells 450 briefcases, and we need to round the answer to the nearest cent. To work with a problem like the one we have here, we need to recognize various variables. We have that Samantha sells briefcases for $55 each. Those $55 correspond to the selling price per unit, denoted by P. The selling price per unit is the amount a business charges its customers to buy a single unit of item produced. Selling price per unit is critical in calculating the revenue for the business. Now we have that the total revenue for these briefcases at the break-even point is $41,855 per month. The total revenue of a business is the amount of money received or brought into the business from the sales of the items produced and sold during a period, in this case, per month. Total revenue is calculated by multiplying the selling price per unit, we have P, at which items are sold, by the number of units sold. In this case, we have Q at the break-even point. And according to what we are told, this total revenue is $41,855. Okay. The next variable they are talking about in the statement of the problem is the contribution margin, or CM in short. The contribution margin per unit is the difference between the selling price per unit, so P, and the variable costs per unit. So we have minus VC for variable costs per unit. Contribution margin per unit is expressed on a per unit basis. It represents the amount that each unit sold brings in after recovering its variable costs. This amount will contribute toward covering the fixed costs. Now, if the contribution amount from the sale of all units exceeds the fixed costs for a period, then there is a profit. And similarly, if the contribution amount from the sale of all units is less than the fixed costs, then there is a loss. According to this problem, the contribution margin per unit is $10. So we have P minus VC equals 10. Now that we have all variables in the statement clear, let's work on part A of this problem. We need to calculate the break-even volume. In other words, we need to find Q break-even sub BE. To calculate that break-even volume, we use the fact that P times Q sub BE equals 41,855. Because we have P is 55. So from 55 times Q sub BE equals 41,855. We can find that Q sub BE is 41,855 divided by 55. And this division gives us the number 761. It's a whole number. There is no need to round up the answer to the next whole number. We have 761 briefcases that are sold at the break-even point when the business does not earn anything, does not lose anything either. So 761 is the answer to part A of this problem. Now let's move on to part B. We want to calculate the fixed costs. To calculate the fixed costs, it's useful to remember a formula for the break-even point in units. The break-even point in units is given by the fixed costs divided by the CM per unit. We have that. We have this formula right here that is very useful. And when we rearrange this formula, we find that fixed costs equal Q sub BE, so the break-even volume, times CM per unit. And we have the break-even volume from part A. We have 761. And the contribution margin per unit is $10. So multiply those numbers to find the fixed costs. And we find that fixed costs are $7,610. So $7,610 is the answer to part B of this problem. All right. Finally, for part C, we want to compute the total revenue if Samantha sells 450 briefcases. So Q is 450. For Q equals 450, we have that the total revenue is given by the following. We have the amount of money received or brought into the business from the sales of the items produced and sold during a period. And we calculate the total revenue by multiplying the selling price per unit, which items are sold, P, by the number of units sold. We multiply 55 by 450. And when we do that, we find the number $24,750. So total revenue is $24,750 if Samantha sells 450 briefcases. All right. So that's it for this video. If you have questions, please write a comment. And I will do my best to help you. Bye.